So, I'm going to be making several of these in succession because if I try to put it all just on one video, it's going to be really long. So, first off, I'm Lisa, but most people call me Princess. And I had a seriously life-changing event happen to me on the 16th of July. Um, this all started on the 15th. Um, my partner and his bestie were fixing to go out to their normal game club that Friday. And all of a sudden, my jaw just started to really pound and hurt. But, he gave me a bag of frozen vegetables to put on it to my face to help ease it. And I didn't really think much of it because I have TMJ. So, you know, I have that kind of jaw pain at times. Um, and then it wasn't too long before my one arm started to really, really hurt. Um, uh, ah, see, I had my rotator cuff done, and they pretty much had to reconstruct my entire shoulder. And so I do get like phantom pain in my upper arm, and nothing gets rid of it. I could take aspirin, I could take morphine, I could take any pain med they want to give me. It just has to go away on its own. And so, I just, again, that went ahead and it's something that happened regularly to me. So, I just pushed it out of my mind. And, and so then, I just laid down and um, I, I had the ice on my face on switching the signs. And, the, the thing started happening and I started getting, you know, really stiff, really stiff neck. Um, I was finding it a little hard to breathe and catch my breath. And then my partner and his buddy comes home, and I told him, I said, I all of this stuff has happened many times to me before because, I have fibromyalgia, I have neuropathy, I have diabetes, I have several health issues. And I said, but something had me look up the signs for women of having a heart attack. And I met each one. I had shortness of breath. I had nausea. I had the fatigue. I had the pain in my shoulder and jaw, and my neck was hurting. And he's like, you didn't call me, or call 911, we should. And I said, no, I feel okay. I don't want to make a fuss. Um, I hate, I hate making a fuss or making a big deal out of things that I think might not be serious. Of course, my partner says I could walk around with like my arm hanging off and holding on with nothing but a ligament, and I'd be like, oh, it's just a flesh wound. And he is right with that. I have a very high pain tolerance. I was abused all my life, and when you get used to pain and you live with pain, you have a different tolerance than somebody that only experiences it periodically, or if they fall or stub their toe. And so he made me promise to go ahead and call my doctor because her office is open on Saturday. And I figured I probably would get through in an hour on hold because their office is usually slammed on Saturdays. But dutifully, I went ahead and I did as I promised. I called the office. The receptionist came on, and I said, I think I might have had a heart attack. Next thing I know, I'm talking to the doctor's nurse, my doctor's nurse, Bonnie, and she goes, Lisa, and I'm like, yes. And she goes, go wake up Dawn and get your ass to the emergency room. And I'm like, okay. And so I hang up, and I go to Dawn, and I wake him up, and I let him know that, Bonnie said, let's go up to the ER, as soon as we can. And we get in the car, And we actually stopped at at McDonald's because, you know, going to the emergency room is never an in and out thing. And Don hadn't eaten yet. And I couldn't eat. I was too nauseous. So uh, we went to the Meridian and the hospital. And he dropped me off up at the emergency room doors. And he went to park and eat a sandwich. And then he was going to come in. And I walked in to the emergency room. I walked past the sliding doors. And I started feeling just really, really weak again. And the lady at the desk said, you know, what can we do for you, hon? I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And next thing I know, I was passed out on the floor. Um, Now, I have sporadic memories of what happened in the next 24 hours. I do remember being in a wheelchair and being rushed into the back. I don't remember how I got in the wheelchair. I I remember thinking I'm being swarmed because there was like 10 or 12 health professionals in that one room with me. And what's really funny is they were trying to strip off my clothes, and I kept pushing the hospital gown down for my modesty, right? I happen to be rather shy about that thing. And all I kept thinking is, you know, hey, quit exposing me. But then I was out again. Um, and Now, this next part, I only know because Dawn told me. Um, Apparently, it took less than half an hour for them to get me down into the cath lab where they could put the femoral artery catheter up into my heart to try to stabilize me. I have no recollection of that happening at all. My next memory is actually hearing the ambulance's lights and sirens and seeing, you know, the flashing lights and hearing the sirens. And I was like, oh God, don't make a big deal out of this. I'm fine. And, you know, I feel sorry for ambulance people that have to deal with somebody like me because they're like, just relax, breathe with me, da 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 da. And, you know, I, I was so out of it that I automatically did as the EMT said, but that's not unusual for me because, you know, I do have a very submissive nature at times. And I honestly, I will admit right now, after knowing how bad my heart attack was, apparently in men they call it the widowmaker. Only 13 or 15% people survive it. And I honestly believe, after having all the information that I have now, that if I hadn't gotten calmed down because of that EMT, if he hadn't taken the time to slowly calm me down and get me not to think about the lights and sirens, but just to breathe and try to catch my breath, I truly believe I wouldn't be here right now. Anyway, they took me to Emmanuel Hospital in downtown Portland, Oregon, which is only one of two level 1 trauma centers here in Oregon. And it's the only one with a burn unit. And it's even though we have a fabulous teaching hospital here, OHSU, it's Emmanuel that has the best cardiac surgeon on this side of the coast. And that's where they took me. I don't remember being taken out of the ambulance. I don't remember, you know, being taken to a room or put on a table or anything like that. My next recollection actually was when I started to come to, and I still had a bleeding tube down my throat. But I will tell you what the doctors told me. Apparently, they almost lost me a couple times on the table. And I'm thankful to God that he guided not only the surgeon's hands, but the other medical staff that was there, guided them into being so quick on the draw that, you know, they saved my life more than once. And it's strange because I don't recall anything. I didn't see like any bright lights or anything. I was just a void. Um, but uh, that's how I found out that what I had was the Widowmaker, and that I actually had to have a three bypass, a triple bypass, which is rather rare apparently. Um, and what saved my life that I, as some people have, it's not uncommon, but it is kind of rare. Some people have an extra valve in their heart, and it's called the Remus valve, and that's what I have. And it's the only valve that wasn't clogged. And what's frustrating to me is I really didn't have any signs I was in distress. I didn't have, you know, any problems that day or, you know, the day before. I wasn't short of breath. I wasn't, you know, I was just me. So there's nothing unusual. My blood pressure had been really good. It's controlled with medication, and it's actually on the lower side. And so you know that was good. That you know, and um, my cholesterol's a little high, but not unmanageable. And I need a little bit more good cholesterol. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this really hit me like a Mack truck because you know you don't always get that opportunity to say something must be wrong with me. Let's you know take the step to get away. Um, you know I could have very easily died, and you think about that, and you know what goes through your mind is, what's the last thing I told my daughters? What's the last thing I told Don? You know you don't want to go out and have bad mojo between you and somebody else. And I had the breathing tube in, and I was waking up, and um, a couple nurses came in, and they like pulled the breathing tube out, which was very painful. My throat felt so raw and scratched, and I talked like I croaked, actually. It was just like, "Ruh, ruh, ruh." And I found out that it was actually the next day. I had They had started to bring me out of the anesthesia, and I started having a major panic attack. And so they quickly put me back under, and decided to give me just enough so I would be back under until morning, and I could come out of it naturally and easily and slowly. And so I had no problems waking up this time. And I didn't even realize my chest had been operated on at this point. I was very out of it. I was disoriented and just kind of like, where am I, you know? And Don immediately came to the bed, and he said that they had to do an emergency triple bypass on me, and to not to not touch my upper body, that they had to crack my ribs open. I think what's better to say is two velociraptors came on either side of me and ripped my chest open, because that's what it feels like. Although at that point I was still pretty numb and hyped up on meds. So I wasn't in a lot of pain at that point. But then I tried to move. There was pain. And I couldn't believe it. What do you mean they cracked my chest? I'm only 54 years old. You know, I lettered in so many sports in high school. I used to run 5 miles a day. You know, a heart attack's not going to happen to me, but it did. And I remember as plain as day. I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to end this part of the video. The first thing I did once I got my head together was I lifted my hands up and I said, I got your message, Lord. Use me as a vessel. I'm putting this in your hands. And that, it kind of surprised me that I did that, but it also is huge because My second husband died in 2001, and I used to be extremely faithful, religious and spiritual, and lead prayer meetings at church, that kind of thing. And after a long illness and watching him have to go through that, he passed away, and I got angry. I got very angry at God. I just walked away from my faith, and apparently I can hold quite a grudge because it's 2022 now, and it's only been recent that I've found my way back. Um, Don's best friend is the landlord here, and he's my best friend here. And he would have the missionaries or the elders come over about once a week to just fellowship and have lunch or dinner. And he would always get me to come out of my room and just to say hi and meet them. And then I would scurry back in my room, or my cave, as Phil calls it. And then, this went on for a couple months. And then one of the missionaries, a woman, piped up, "Would you like to sit with us tonight and hear a story?" And I kind of felt like I was just stepped into a bear trap. I wanted to run. But I said, sure. I'm not a type of person that is just going to blow people off, especially if they have good intentions. And we finished supper, and she, one of the bigger phones, Galaxy or whatever, she found the video that she wanted, and she hit play and pointed it at me. And it was a testimonial. It was a woman who had stopped praying. She had stopped going to church. She was angry, and she was angry at God because of what her life had become. And it had taken several years for her, and she was trying to learn how to pray again. She had forgotten how to even talk to God. And she's trying to find her way back, and she's trying to ask for, forgiveness for being so angry. And I reached over and I hit pause, and I just had to take a breath and think about things for a minute. And I asked them how they knew. That story was me. And how the hell did they know that? How did they know the details? It was quite frightening, actually. And they could tell I was kind of shell-shocked at that point. And, they asked if they could come back in a couple days and talk with me. Let, everything sink in. And that's what started me having 1 or 2 fellowship sessions every week. It's how I met my best friend Christina, because she came to one of them. And we had rotating, elders and missionaries come in, because it's, Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they always had such positive wisdom, and they didn't shove the religion down my throat. And we fellowshipped, and I got to hear, a story, or we talked about, a story from the Book of Mormon, or, it was different every time. And it didn't take me long. But they came back one day, and I said, I've accepted God again. I've asked for forgiveness. And they were just like, oh, wow. And they're like, you can't have coffee. No alcohol. And I actually went to my room, and I had just bought a big box of Keurig pods. I'm a coffeeaholic. And I brought them out, and I handed them to them. I said, take my coffee. And I had these little bottles of, vodka that Phil used to bring home from the bar and stuff. And gathered all them up and put them in the box, too. And they said, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And so they took them with them when they left that day. And I told them that I had tried to pray, and I'd forgotten how. And At that point, I had a therapy dog, Christina, actually, as a doctor now, but he, he just was looking up at me like, like I'm contemplating or something's wrong, and he was like waiting for a command. He's an Australian Shepherd. He likes to, he loves to train. And I picked up a notebook, and at the top, I put conversations with dog. And I turned to my puppy, and I just started talking, and then writing down what I was saying. I just verbal diarrhea, just talking about everything. And by the end, I was very angry, and I was almost yelling and saying, how could you have done this to such a great man that broke the cycle of abuse for me? How could you do that when you know everything I've gone through? That you know everything he's gone through? And I just ranted and raved. And meanwhile, I'm writing this all down. And I had my notebook with me, and I slid it over to the missionaries. And I told them, I said, before you read it, you have to know that I had no idea I still was that angry. And that was a real turning point for me. So, even a year ago, would I have offered up myself to be his vessel and leave all the stress and the worry and, am I going to be able to recover, would I be able to take all that and put it in his hands? And, a year ago, no, I wouldn't have. I, but I was finding my way back to God, and just, especially recently. And then I just took a breath, and the nurse said that they'd be back in a little while, and they were going to try to get me to sit up. And I knew that was like the next stage, because I had my kids by C-section, and the first thing they want to do is get you moving. It helps you heal. And Don then showed me this big red heart pillow that had a picture of an actual heart on it. And apparently, my surgeon gives them to all his open heart patients. And I told Don if that was my take home, my door prize, I didn't want it. I don't want to go through this again. And he just laughed at me. But what he had got me, he bought me this pink teddy bear from Build-A-Bear. And it had a shirt on it. It said Emotional Support Bear. Oh my God, everybody loved that bear. I sleep with it still. I had problems sleeping. I didn't sleep at all last night. I'm afraid if I go to sleep, I might not wake up again. That's how hard this hit me. But anyway, that's enough for this video. I will pick up where I left off in the next video. And I hope you've enjoyed it so far.